Hi, I'm Nathan, 35, and last Friday, I was summoned to my childhood home under the illusion of a family dinner. Instead, I was cornered in front of a roast chicken and forced to choose between my $650,000 penthouse or my pregnant sister's fresh start. It started with a phone call from my mother, Patricia, on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in my downtown office, running quarterly reports, when her name popped up on my screen. Now, Patricia doesn't just call anymore. Not since I refused to co-sign on Brooke's third business venture, an ill-conceived subscription box for vegan dog treats. Dinner Friday, she said, voice syrupy sweet and bright in that way people talk when they're about to drop a bomb. Your father insists. And Brooke will be there too. Brooke. 5 months pregnant, recently unemployed, and, last I checked, deep in credit card debt. I said I had plans? I didn't. Cancel them, she said and hung up. So I went. The house looked tired. Peeling paint. Lawn overgrown. Not the same place Gerald used to mow twice a week with military precision. Brooke's brand new SUV was parked in the driveway, its temporary plates practically screaming bad financial decisions. Patricia answered the door before I even knocked. The kind of premeditated greeting that tells you something's coming. The dining table was dressed in grandma's china, which only made appearances for holidays or big news. Gerald was already seated at the head of the table, hands folded like a corporate villain preparing a pitch. Brooke sat beside him, rubbing her belly like it was a negotiation tactic. The whole setup had the energy of a low-budget intervention. Congratulations, I said carefully to Brooke. Twins, right? She nodded stiffly. Boys. Dinner was quiet. Unnaturally so. And then, over dessert, Patricia cleared her throat. Brooke and Travis need more space. She began. Travis was her boyfriend, a full-time substitute teacher, part-time gamer, zero-time planner. I offered practical suggestions. Look further out, rent is cheaper. You know, things normal people do when they're having kids and strapped for cash. And then Gerald leaned forward, palms flat on the table like a poker player about to call a bluff. Your penthouse is far too large for one person. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, city view. Brooke and Travis need that space. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You're joking. We're not, Patricia said. We're telling you what needs to happen. I looked at my parents. Then at Brooke, who looked at me like I was being difficult for not handing over $287,000 worth of equity in the name of family. Gerald pulled out a folder. We've had our attorney draft transfer documents. You signed the property over to Brooke, and in exchange, we forgive what we spent on your college. That's when I realized they were serious. You spent maybe $8,000 across 4 years. I've put in $157,000 on this place. And you think that's equal? Patricia didn't blink. It's not about money. It's about what's right. Then Brooke, always the actress, let the tears well up. I'm pregnant and scared. And you're talking about investments like I'm a stranger. No, I said. Your family. And you're asking me to give up my home? You don't have a choice, Gerald said. Sign, or we take you to court. Our attorney says we have grounds. They thought they had leverage. They didn't know about my attorney. I stood up. If you walk out that door, Patricia warned, you're choosing property over family. Good, I said. Remember that clearly. Then I left. And they had no idea what was coming. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the penthouse I'd fought for, the one I'd bought with pre-dawn commutes, skipped vacations, second-hand furniture, and stared out the floor-to-ceiling windows like they held answers. The messages started around 1 a.m. Patricia, this is about more than square footage, Nathan. Your sister is struggling. Brooke, you seriously left us sitting at the table. You're disgusting. I hope you're proud of yourself. Gerald, you'll be hearing from our lawyer. I silenced my phone and made coffee instead. Strong, black, bitter, like my mood. By 9 a.m., I was in the sleek, glass office of Jessica Cameron, an attorney I'd worked with on corporate contracts. No nonsense, brilliant, surgically precise. The kind of woman who could dismantle a hostile takeover and still make a noon yoga class. After I finished the full story, word for word, threat for threat, she leaned back in her chair and gave me a look halfway between, "Are you kidding me?" and, "Excellent, let's destroy them." First, she said, they have no case. 0. Using someone's address for loan paperwork isn't ownership. Gifts aren't investments. Threats aren't leverage. But, and here it came, your father mentioned he could demonstrate financial support. That's vague on purpose. I want to make sure there's nothing they could twist. So I spent the weekend turning my filing cabinet into a war room. Every mortgage statement. Every property tax payment. Every insurance premium. The down payment that had taken me 7 years of ramen-fueled saving. All from my own accounts. Then I found it. A $3,000 check. Dated 4 months before closing. Memo line. Birthday. Problem was, my birthday is in March. The check was dated in October. I remembered cashing it without thinking, assuming my parents had finally caught on to their chronic forgetfulness. But now, under this lens, it looked strategic. I called Jessica. Could this be a problem? She paused. It's weak, but if they claim it was intended for the down payment, they could muddy the waters. Not win, but cause enough chaos to make it expensive. My stomach dropped. So what now? Now I dig. If they're this desperate, there's a reason. People don't try to steal property out of nowhere. Let me see what I can find. Monday brought a certified letter. Thick paper. Official seal. From Kellerman and Associates. Inside? A formal legal demand. Sign over the property in 14 days, or face litigation for equitable distribution of family assets. They weren't bluffing. They were escalating. I forwarded the letter to Jessica, walked into work, and promptly forgot how to use Excel. Angela, my coworker, unofficial therapist, and sarcasm connoisseur, found me mid-stare, spreadsheet untouched since 9 a.m. What's going on? She asked. I told her everything. When I finished, she didn't blink. That's not a family request. That's a shakedown. I nodded. They said Brooke needs space. Or they need money. And just like that, something clicked. Gerald had retired early. Patricia hadn't worked in years. Brooke's businesses had all tanked. They'd been burning money for a decade. Maybe this wasn't about babies at all. That evening, Jessica called back. I have news, she said. And it's going to make your blood pressure spike. They were in debt. Big time. Refinanced their house 18 months ago. 3 outstanding credit card judgments totaling $68,000. A $47,000 lien from Brooke's failed business. You're telling me they're sitting on over $400,000 in debt? Yes, Jessica said. And your penthouse? It's worth about $650,000. If they forced a sale, they'd walk away debt-free. I whispered. Jessica didn't sugarcoat it. They don't want to house Brooke. They want to cash you out. It all snapped into place. The push. The timing. The we have grounds. Confidence. This wasn't family drama. It was premeditated fraud. The gloves came off. Jessica drafted the kind of response letter that makes opposing counsel regret waking up that morning. 3 pages of legal precision, polite but lethal. She dissected their demand, cited precedent, attached documents proving sole ownership, and included a neat little paragraph referencing their debt, public records, liens, credit judgments, and concluded with, any continued pursuit of this baseless claim will be considered an attempt to defraud and will result in counterclaims for emotional distress and attempted coercion. 5 days later, my phone rang. Mom on the caller ID. I considered letting it ring, but curiosity won. You had no right, Patricia said. No hello. No small talk. Just straight to the point, voice trembling with performative hurt. You violated our privacy. You tried to steal my home. We were trying to help Brooke. By committing fraud? I asked. She went quiet. You don't understand, she said eventually. She's scared. We tried to help with every venture. We believed in her. The debts just piled up. So you decided to liquidate my life to cover the mess? We thought. No. You didn't think. You decided I was an asset to be harvested. She didn't deny it. She just asked me to take down the response post I'd made on social media, which, yes, I had published after my inbox was flooded with messages from family and family adjacents calling me selfish. My version was factual, impersonal. Just screenshots, a summary of events, and a redacted copy of Jessica's response letter. Brooke went nuclear in return. Her post read like a YA novel in meltdown. Pregnant woman. Betrayed sister. Homeless twins. Cruel success-obsessed sibling who forgot where she came from. No names, but it didn't take a detective to figure it out. Her comment section was a mess. Half people crying with her. Half people tagging me saying, I don't think this is the full story. I ignored it. But Brooke didn't ignore me. She started texting. Late-night guilt trips. Photos of baby furniture. Messages like, trying to picture our babies in a homeless shelter. Hope you're sleeping okay. It would have been laughable if it weren't so disgusting. Then Gerald called. He was less manipulative, more aggressive. You're destroying your family. You tried to destroy my future. We fed you, raised you, clothed you. Congratulations. I snapped. You reached the bare minimum for legal guardianship. You're being selfish. No, I said. I'm being sane. We're drowning, Nathan. We're going to lose everything. That's not my fault. There was a pause. A real one. Then he spat. You're not the son we raised. No, I said. I'm the man you didn't think I'd become. Click. I blocked his number. Then I blocked Patricia. Then Brooke. Silence fell like snow. Until the next blow landed. Jessica called, voice calm but alert. Their attorney just withdrew from the case. What does that mean? It means Kellerman and Associates doesn't want to be part of this dumpster fire. It also means we won. I sagged in my chair. But I'm not done yet, she added. I'm filing for a restraining order. Permanently barring them from making claims on your property again. What are the chances they show up in court? She paused. They'll come. People like that never believe the door is really closed. The court hearing was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. I took the day off work, feeling a strange blend of exhaustion and quiet satisfaction. In the days leading up to it, the pressure had started to lift, though the dread of facing them in person still lingered. I hadn't seen my parents or sister in weeks, and now I would have to face them in a courtroom. Jessica met me outside the courthouse. Her briefcase was sharp, her demeanor calm, professional, in control. I wanted to feel confident, but there was still the nagging part of me that feared their last-ditch emotional tactics. They'll probably show up, she warned me, as though I didn't already know. But we're prepared. Are you ready for that? I nodded. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, wood-paneled, low ceilings, almost intimate. A judge in her 60s sat at the bench, reviewing the documents with an efficient pace. Her sharp eyes scanned through everything as she waited for both sides to speak. And then they entered. Gerald, Patricia, and Brooke walked in like a storm cloud. Gerald's face was redder than I'd ever seen it. Patricia was trying, and failing, to hold herself together, and Brooke, well, she was Brooke. The master of emotional manipulation, complete with tears ready at command. They sat on the opposite side, and I felt a familiar mix of anger and relief. The judge looked up from her papers and turned to Jessica. Ms. Cameron, your client is seeking a permanent restraining order, preventing any further claims on her property. Summarize your position. Jessica stood tall and straight. Your Honor, the respondents have attempted to coerce my client into transferring real property through a combination of emotional manipulation and fraudulent legal claims. They have no legal standing, no financial contribution, and no ownership rights to the property. This is harassment and extortion, plain and simple. The judge turned to the opposing side, motioning for their lawyer to speak. The young attorney stood up, clearly nervous, shifting through his papers. Your Honor, the respondents are the petitioner's parents. They provided financial support throughout her life, including a $3,000 gift, which they believe entitles them to some consideration in property decisions affecting family welfare. The judge didn't even blink. Did they contribute to the down payment? She asked. No. Did they contribute to the mortgage? No, Your Honor. Are they listed on the deed or mortgage? No, Your Honor. Then what exactly do they think they're entitled to? The young lawyer stammered, flustered, flipping through his papers like they might suddenly reveal the truth. Jessica didn't miss a beat. Your Honor, the check in question was clearly a birthday gift, not a contribution to the down payment. And even if we entertain the possibility, my client paid over $157,000 for this property. A $3,000 check doesn't give anyone a stake in that. The judge's gaze turned to Gerald. Are you facing foreclosure? She asked bluntly. Gerald's face turned an alarming shade of crimson. He didn't answer at first, but when Patricia gave him a pleading look, he reluctantly nodded. We have some financial difficulties, he admitted, his voice tight. Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Ashford, the judge said. If you're facing financial difficulties, trying to steal your daughter's home is not going to solve your problems. If anything, it will make them worse. Gerald opened his mouth to protest, but the judge was already moving on. What you're doing is taking advantage of your daughter's success. That's not family. It's exploitation. She signed the documents in front of her and handed them to the court clerk. The restraining order is granted. The respondents are prohibited from making any claims regarding the petitioner's property. Any violation of this order will result in contempt of court charges. Additionally, the respondents are ordered to pay the petitioner's attorney fees in the amount of $12,000. My heart, which had been in my throat since I entered, finally settled. I wanted to look at my parents, but I didn't. I didn't need to. Jessica turned to me, smiling with that quiet confidence of someone who knew they just won. It's over. They can't come after you again. If they do, we'll be back in court, and it won't go well for them. I stood, the weight of the past few weeks slowly lifting from my shoulders. The journey to this moment had been long, and in many ways I hadn't realized how much I was still carrying. But now it was done. They had no more claim over my life. As we left the courthouse, the air felt lighter. Like the weight of the world had been lifted off my chest. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel smug. I just felt free. I wish I could tell you that was the end. That after the judge's ruling, they slunk away in shame and silence and never bothered me again. But that's not how people like my parents work. 5 days after the court ruling, a certified check arrived at Jessica's office, $12,000 to cover my legal fees, exactly as ordered. With it came a handwritten note from Gerald scribbled on lined yellow paper like he was submitting a middle school essay at the last minute. You've broken your mother's heart. We hope you're satisfied with your revenge. I read it once, passed it to Jessica and said, Do I have to keep this? No, she said, tossing it into the shredder. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt resolved. Like I'd finally escaped a house fire that had been smoldering since childhood. And now, all that smoke was clearing. Brooke gave birth in September, twin boys. She announced it with a Facebook post full of heart emojis, baby footprints, and passive-aggressive swipes about building a village from scratch, and not everyone being meant to stay in your story. She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. People sent me screenshots. I didn't respond. I didn't send flowers. I didn't send a card. I didn't feel guilt. These children weren't mine to support, save, or sacrifice for. They were hers. 4 months later, on a random Tuesday at work, Angela caught me scrolling real estate listings between meetings. Thinking about moving? She asked, raising an eyebrow. I shrugged. Just browsing. The penthouse is great, but maybe I want something with a guest room. Somewhere people can actually stay. People? She asked with a grin. Plural? I laughed. Maybe. Truth was, I'd started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I wasn't in a rush to share my life, or my mortgage, with anyone. But I was open. The townhouse I found was 10 minutes away from the penthouse. 3 bedrooms. Hardwood floors. A little backyard that got morning sun. It wasn't as flashy, but it felt more like a life. I made an offer. Jessica reviewed the contract, triple-checking every clause to make sure there were no hidden surprises. Just a regular real estate deal, she said, smiling. Feels almost boring, doesn't it? Boring sounds perfect. The penthouse sold within 3 weeks. A young couple bought it, newlyweds, just starting out. I left behind a bottle of champagne and a note. Take care of it. This place saved me. I closed on the townhouse the following Friday. No drama. No demands. No threats. Just signatures, smiles, and a set of keys that felt like something holy in my hand. I moved in over Thanksgiving weekend with a professional crew, no favors, no guilt debts. Every item unpacked felt like a statement. This is mine. Earned, not gifted. Kept, not claimed. A week later, a Christmas card arrived. Addressed to my old apartment. Forwarded by mail services. Inside, Patricia had written, "Wishing you happiness and health this season." No mention of court. No mention of Brooke. No apology. Just a glittery Hallmark attempt at pretending none of it had happened. I threw it away without reading it twice. That was the first Christmas I spent without a single family obligation. And it was the best one I've ever had. The new year came with silence. No letters, no phone calls, no passive-aggressive guilt wrapped in glittery cards. Just peace. I adopted a cat in February. Calvin. Grumpy, dramatic, extremely judgmental. We got along instantly. Work promoted me. I got a bigger office, a better title, and a raise I didn't tell anyone in my family about, because by now, they weren't really family. Not in the way that counts. Angela came by the townhouse one night, holding a glass of wine, looking around. "This place feels like exhale," she said. "It's the first place I've lived that didn't come with strings." I told her. Spring brought block parties. Normal people, normal conversations. No one wanted anything from me. No one saw me as a solution. That's when I met Thomas. We matched at a financial conference. He was kind, steady, smart. A little bit sarcastic, a little bit quiet. Over dinner, when I told him about Brooke and the penthouse, he just nodded. "My sister tried to sue me for my inheritance," he said. "Different mess. Same smell. And that was it." He understood. We took things slow. He never asked me to explain myself. Just made space, consistently, without expectation. It was almost unsettling how easy peace felt. Until the email came. Subject: sad news. Brooke. Patricia had died. Heart attack. The funeral was next week. She said Gerald hoped I'd come. I didn't even finish reading. I didn't go to the funeral. Not out of spite. Not out of anger. Just peace. The kind that doesn't need to explain itself. The kind you protect when you fought too hard to earn it. Brooke sent photos afterward. Gerald looked smaller, hunched, like the weight of his own decisions had finally caught up with him. The twins stood beside him in miniature suits, completely unaware they were props in a decades-long story that never belonged to them. 3 weeks later, I got a letter. Gerald's handwriting, same line notebook paper. He blamed me for Patricia's death. Called me selfish. Claimed the stress of my betrayal broke her heart. That my refusal to be a real daughter was what killed her. I didn't finish reading. I showed it to Jessica. She skimmed it with lawyer eyes, then looked up. "Do you want to respond?" No. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I was done. Because closure doesn't always come with apologies. Sometimes it comes in the form of a silence you don't feel obligated to fill. That December, Thomas proposed. Quietly. On a weekend trip in the mountains, snow outside the window, a ring tucked in his sock drawer like a secret he'd been dying to share. We got married in April. Small ceremony. Close friends. No drama. Angela was my maid of honor. Jessica and her husband came too. No one asked me to pay for anything I didn't offer freely. The whole day felt like a celebration not just of love, but of survival. Gerald sent a card to my old address. Something handwritten about family and forgiveness. It got forwarded to the townhouse, eventually. I opened it, read it once, and slid it into a drawer without reply. He died when I was 41. Brooke emailed again. He'd left me exactly $1 in his will. And a note about how I'd abandoned my blood. I laughed. Out loud. In the kitchen. Thomas looked up from chopping onions. "You okay?" "I think yeah. I think I finally am." The townhouse was paid off 5 years early. Every payment had felt like planting a flag. Calvin grew old. We adopted a second cat. A cuddly one. They balanced each other. I mentored new analysts. I taught them how to build wealth. How to protect it. How to say no to people who think they're entitled to what they didn't earn. One of them, a young woman named Alina, asked if it ever gets easier, choosing yourself over people who expect you to fold. I told her yes. It does. Eventually it stops feeling like betrayal and starts feeling like freedom. Brooke sent one final email on my 42nd birthday. She was getting remarried. The twins were thriving. She said therapy had helped. That she didn't expect forgiveness. Just hope someday we could talk, not to fix anything, but to acknowledge it. I didn't reply. Because healing doesn't always require a reunion. Sometimes it just means letting go, quietly and completely. My life now? It's calm. It's good. It's mine. And that's more than enough.